This girl posted about finding or see her husband and son seeing a gnome in their backyard, and I had to go through all the comments because one, I've seen gnomes. I've also seen duendes, which is part of the gnome family, but they are not the same. And I've also seen elves. I know I sound crazy. I've been doing this work for a really long time, and elementals are real. These are fairies, things like that. They are real. Why do you think in the Renaissance times there's so many stories of them? This was not by coincidence, and many cultures talk about them. Not by coincidence. So what I will say is that this isn't about us stepping into another dimension. This is the dimension that we are in. It's just that a lot of us have raised our frequencies enough that we are in alignment with these things again to see them more frequently. So many of you guys probably will be. But what really bothers me about these comments is that everyone's in here saying they're evil and they're bad and you need to be afraid. This is not always the case. Do I recommend you guys messing with fairies? Absolutely freaking not. Do I recommend you guys messing with elementals? No, I don't. But it's not because they're evil and bad. It's because they're mischievous. There's many that can have ill intentions, just like anything else in this world, to be honest. But they're not here to like haunt you, to get you, and to hurt you. They're not going to come harm's way, and they're not demons that need to be prayed out in Jesus' name. Like, that is not what this is. I don't necessarily recommend you putting out things to like gift them, because they will keep wanting more. They're greedy little things. But they are definitely real. So just do your thing, live in harmony, and just they're there. That's it. I don't recommend you forcing all this energy to try to get rid of them necessarily. I had a client particularly, I remember one time I was giving her energy clearing, and then all of a sudden I kept seeing these things running across the room, and I'm like, you have gnomes in your house. And she's like, what? I'm like, no, you literally have gnomes in your house. And then afterwards I come to see that she's like, I love gnomes. And she had all these gnome statues, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you are literally calling gnomes inside your house. So more of you guys probably have a lot of gnomes and fairies and things than you realize that are around you. So I say this because whoever created this video, there's not a need for you to have fear. You do not need to be afraid of this. I do not pick up any harmful energy whatsoever. Let it be. It's been there a lot longer than you have, and it hasn't caused any harm, and nor does it mean to cause any harm. So that's it.
So first is mermaids. Now you have a woman saying that her husband and her son seen a gnome running in their backyard. And she called it a gnome because she didn't know what else to call it. But those are duendes. You do know about duendes, right? This is about to be a long video. Let me tell you what happened. So short story short, this lady and her family moved to Utah from Vegas. So recently, while they've been outside cooking out, her husband and her son has been seeing this gnome, or that duende, running around in their backyard. So she does some research, and what does she find out? She finds out that people in Utah have seen them before, and they're not called gnomes. Matter of fact, look at this shit.
My husband and my son, he's 12, he's almost 13.
Listen to this shit.
They have noticed that there has been
Y'all better stop
a
playing.
weird little gnome. I'm gonna sound freaking crazy for saying this. There's a weird little gnome in our backyard that just apparently runs back and forth.
So apparently this woman is the only one of the three that can't see it. And that's because of spiritual reasons. But if you know anything about duendes, you know duendes are very powerful and very possessive. Now for the story inside the story. When duendes gain a liking to you, start communicating with you, they become possessive if you ever try and leave from their presence. And I say that to say this. In the same video, she said that they put out a basketball and they put out a row of pennies to see if the duendes takes them or plays with the basketball. And I always say, stop playing with things that you do not know, because guess what happened? Look at this shit.
So we came back from dinner.
Look at this
Nobody's
shit.
been here. Ball's gone.
Look at they stacked up. Yo, stop playing. I'm out. Them leaving that basketball and those pennies outside might have opened up a door that they don't want to open up. Duendes are very possessive. Do your research.
Y'all, I am so creeped out right now. I just saw a video of a woman talking about how her husband and her son, well, they live in Utah. They moved from Vegas to Utah. And her husband and son saw a gnome outside of their house. And girl, she did a whole test where she put out these pennies, right? And she put out a basketball. And for whatever reason, I guess gnomes are supposed to like be attracted to like money or pennies and like basketballs and baseball and stuff like that. I don't know. And it moved it, y'all. Oh my gosh, I got chills. And I looked into the history of gnomes, and they're actually called duendes. And duendes are like these little, I guess, creatures that, you know, are paranormal, and only certain people can see them. So like if you're not in tune with whatever it is, you can't see it. And it reminded me of this story I read a while back on Reddit of this couple that lived in this house, and it was an older house, and they, you know, had just moved in, and both of them were sleeping in the bedroom when they like, you know, heard or saw something, and they looked across their room, and there was a little gnome-like creature like running around. And he looked at his wife and he was like, "Can you see it? Can you see what I'm seeing?" And she's like, "Yes, I can see it." And both of them heard, saw it in that situation. And they also heard like noises going up and down the stairs and stuff like that. But yeah, that's creepy, y'all. Honestly, in 2025, honestly, I don't put anything past this year. Gnomes, Tesla, girl, all this crazy stuff is happening. I really don't, you know, mermaids being eaten. I don't know. Just a lot of weird stuff going on. But yeah, that's crazy.
Tell me you saw this story about this lady who just saw a gnome, and she's from Utah, and she's going to tell her story, but it's crazy wild. You need to watch this.
Okay, so we live in Utah, and I love it here. It's been amazing. However, my husband and my son, he have noticed that there has been a weird little gnome.
And these are the gnomes. They're little creatures like this big.
Runs back and forth and up the things, and I'm like, I have not seen this.
So what they decided to do is put some coins, because apparently they like shiny things. They were like, let's put some coins and see what happens.
These are shiny little pennies. But my husband said that he saw it running up the wall of our neighbors.
And that's what happened.
Don't even know what to think.
So she was like, okay, this might be real. Let me put a camera, because the HOA didn't let her put a camera on the outside. And she also did one of these fairy gardens. But she also did a fairy ring.
And I put them, and so they light up at night.
And this is what it looks like. Fairies like this.
And it's super gorgeous. They're so adorable.
Now, she hasn't seen the duende with her own eyes, but I don't think this is good, okay? From what I have read, they either come to do good things or bad things. But the camera's set up now, so we will know more. But what do you think?
Every myth you ever heard about is not really a myth. All these life forms really exist. Did you hear about the story of the woman from Utah that spotted a gnome or a duende in her garden? All these life forms really do exist, and they have more spiritual knowledge than us because they never left nature. Anytime you spot one of these life forms, they live in the jungle or the rainforest, or you just might see them walking around in your garden if this is open. Some of these life forms really do be demonic, and they can trick you with all kind of trickery. They are the masters at deceiving people. But once again, Hollywood tricked us. They want us to look at fairies like this. They don't really look like this. Not at all. Hollywood know if they can paint this image that we're going to be okay with these fairies. But these fairies really look like this. Just remember, there are so many different kingdoms existing at one time. These fairies live in the air element or the air kingdom. If you ever hear stories about people going deep in the woods and they never come back, the duendes got them. People are so disconnected from their spiritual roots that they don't even realize what they're doing. How many times you walk past a garden and you've seen these life forms? Anytime you put this statue in your garden for decoration, That's spiritual ignorance. Because this is like an invitation for these life forms to come in your garden. Once they get inside your garden, they could put spiritual roots on your fruits and vegetables. And then when you eat your fruit and vegetables, you become sick. The TV, the news, newspapers, the magazines, it brainwash you. They want you to think that this is what they look like, when they really look like this. These life forms is known as the imps. The imps are the jokers, tricksters, deceivers. In fact, they are the ones that tricked us out of the Garden of Eden. Remember, these life forms live in your garden, and we came from a garden. They are the ones that tricked us outside of the garden, and we lost our spiritual connection. Therefore, they took over. We walk past these life forms every day, but our third eye is not activated. And if we do see them, we don't really see them. Spirituality isn't for the weak. If you are not ready to see the real world, stop asking for it. I've seen so many people claim that they want to be woke, but when they start seeing shit, they wanted to go back to sleep. Once you wake up, there is no such thing as going back to sleep. You're going to start seeing all kind of shit like this. These life forms always been there. They're not going nowhere. Once again, these are the same life forms that was in a Garden of Eden with us, but we left the garden and they stayed. And when we left, they got all of our spiritual knowledge, because all enlightenment comes from nature. For more details about this, my ebook link is in my bio.